right, welcome back to another amazing episode of EdUp Career Schools, The Scoop with your host, Kathy Belletti. Today is all about admissions. We're talking about speed to lead, and this is what a lot of admissions teams are lacking across the board. So I brought in an expert who can school us and walk us through this topic. So let's welcome Mr. Cade Scott. He is the Director of Marketing and Enrollment with First Class Dental Assisting School of Nashville. Hey, Cade.
Hey, thanks for having me. I hope I can
Absolutely.
school you, be a good steward for that
Oh,
intro.
I
That
believe that
was,
you will. I follow your LinkedIn post and you are right on point. All right. So just make sure that you guys get out your pen and paper because you're going to want to know what Cade has to say. All right. So, Cade, talk to us. How did your journey begin in marketing?
yeah, and marketing. I won't say it was by accident, but I went to school for English creative writing. Actually, I wanted to write novels and be a teacher in the university setting. I thought for the rest of my life. And as with what most people do with English degrees when they graduate, they're like, so what do I do now? What do I do with this degree? In the meantime, while I'm trying, write the next great American novel. And so marketing felt like a close kind of cousin of creative writing, especially the role that I jumped into, which was content. I was a content marketing specialist. So I was writing creatively. I was creating content for a specific audience and getting to flex that creative muscle. And so I was like, okay, in the meantime, I'll start this marketing career until I can go back to school and become a novelist and hang out in the university setting. So that's how I got my start in marketing. I actually worked for ACT, the standardized testing company. So I was related to universities and maybe in admissions and enrollment a little bit. I don't know. That's probably a different topic altogether, whether or not schools should accept the ACT or SAT. But that's actually where I started. And that's how I got into marketing. And it was a roundabout way before I got back into marketing. I had to go. I'm actually located right now in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and because I went back to graduate school for creative writing in English, still thinking I wanted to write and teach. But it took that graduate school experience to be like, actually, I don't want to do that. I want to go back to marketing. And so I found myself back in marketing, and now I'm with First Class Dental Assisting and wanting to do more. So, yeah, that's me in a nutshell, I guess.
That is awesome. You know what's interesting? I love that you said creative writing because a lot of times when people talk about marketing, for some people it's just a job, right? So it's like, I need to make sure that I write these posts because we're trying to attract X, Y, and Z. Well, but what people don't realize is in order for you to attract an audience, you have to put yourself in the audience's shoes.
Absolutely.
How were they thinking? How do they feel at this point? And then you have to write from that creative space as if you are the person who you're trying to attract. And I don't think a lot of people really get that part.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a great way to put it. And that's a great thing that creative writing taught me that I didn't know. I wasn't formally trained in marketing. So when I got into marketing, I didn't know any of the business speak. But like you said, I knew how to write from that point of view. And I think that really helped me learn fast within the marketing space. And so that formal marketing knowledge came with experience, but that creative writing, I had for now 8 years of experience in that. And so that has helped, I think, it's helped me immensely, I will say.
I could imagine. I definitely could imagine. What inspired you to actually focus in admissions? I know that in one of your roles, you were in that space, but what made you narrow it down?
Another accident, I would say. A family member of mine, so my cousin-in-law, I like to say, was starting a dental assisting school in Nashville and needed help kind of spreading the word and also enrolling students and also making sure those students get through the program. As with most trade school owners, they take on a lot of responsibility and try to outsource what they can. And so he's like, hey, I'll handle the instruction and curriculum and the bookkeeping if you can get students in the door. knowing that I had a marketing background. So I was like, okay, this is this sounds like it's a new industry. It's a great challenge. I had no idea what I was in for. And then I jumped right in, and I've been doing that for almost 2 years now. And it comes with its own obstacles and it comes with its own challenges, but it's also really rewarding to see students that apply and come through, and you get to chat with, and you get, you see their passion, not just for the profession, but just for like the why behind the reason they're switching careers or going through this. You get to see life transformation, and that's really cool to see, and it's very rewarding. Something I didn't get in my previous jobs, and so I've come to like the enrollment, the admissions environment.
Do you realize that it's a totally different environment when you talk about the traditional setting and the career school setting? Because I went to both types of schools, and it's totally different. I went to a traditional college, and in a lot of cases, you have to meet a certain criteria,
right,
in order to get into that school. But then after I decided to leave traditional school, I went on to a institution, and it's like, wait, interview process. Why are you asking me all these questions?
Right.
I didn't experience that the first time. But here's the thing. If those questions were not asked to me in the second scenario, I would have taken the same exact program that I hated in the first university. Because in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be a computer geek. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I go to trade school and they're asking me all these questions. And I'm like, no, I hate all of that. And he's like, maybe we need to consider a different career path.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Because it's after going through, because I went through the traditional route, and now I see these students going through kind of the career school. And it makes me wish I would have gone through a career school. But like it's a different type of student. It's a different, they're doing it for different reasons. It's a different process. And I would say a much more rewarding process from kind of, and we all have our reasons to go through the traditional route, which I did.
Absolutely.
But there's just two different environments, and I'm attracted to this environment over here now, more so than traditional route, I would say.
Yeah, I find it more personal when it comes to the career school route. So what do you see as some of the critical setbacks or challenges when it comes to institutions, but specifically the admissions departments?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would be interested to get your perspective on, actually, for being
Do we have time
in it for so long? Yeah. I can speak to my point of view though. Just these 2 years, I think some of the big challenges for me were being able to genuinely connect with someone as and we'll talk about speed to lead, but doing it in a way that's quick and that's efficient and that's effective, and having the capacity and time to do that. Because it's not just about speed. It was, when we were starting to roll and applications were coming in, it was you're just busy. I mean, there is multiple roles I was having to juggle. And it's like, man, how do I fit all of this within 9 to 5?
Yep.
And also, love my family at the end of the day and be with them. And then, so I think it's just the time and to me, the resources it takes to really genuinely connect with these students and push them through the enrollment funnel. It's a challenge, especially when a good challenge, because that means you're having applications come in. I mean, that's a challenge in of itself as if you're starting out new. It's like, how do we start to spread the word, especially with institutions that are already ingrained within the area? But once you do, having the capacity to really develop that personal relationship with each student, and see them through and cater to their motivations and their needs and give them the experience that they're kind of longing for, I guess. Doing that at scale is a succinct way to put it.
Well, here's what I see on many different levels, especially when it comes to a major setback in building relationships with students. Time plays a critical factor, but I think what's happening is, if I could sum it up in one word, I would say pressure. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get real. There's a lot of pressure placed on the advisors to make sure that you're getting students in, right? So what happens in a lot
Yeah.
of cases, advisors are like, I don't have time to build rapport with you. Okay. I have to make 5 to 6 appointments for the next day. I need to get at least 5 enrollments for the week. And now sometimes when that pressure is placed on advisors, you lose the connection. So
Yeah.
if you're a fly on the wall and you're listening to a conversation between an advisor and a student, this student is pouring their heart out just to hear, okay, so what do you do for work? And it's like, wow, you just missed this entire student story. Because
Yeah.
in the advisor's mind, all they're thinking is this person going to enroll? Are they not going to enroll? Am I going to meet my numbers? And you're totally missing the entire conversation. It's a
Mm,
problem.
yeah.
But that's just one out of 100 different issues that we can list. But there's
Yeah.
solutions to these. So let's get into speed to lead, okay?
Yeah.
Because what I don't think that a lot of people understand, your students are habitual shoppers. They are
Yes.
talking to 10 to 20 schools every single day. And when I was working out of a school, sometimes I would see so many leads sitting in the queue for hours. And I'm like, do you know that these are brand new leads that just came in? These students are active. They are on the computers right now. And the
Yeah.
advisors are following up on old stuff. And it's like, hello, those new leads are hot. Get
Yeah.
on top of them. So let's
Yep.
talk about that. In your opinion, what is speed to lead and why do you think that is so important?
Yeah. So speed to lead, I mean, I guess the formal definition is how quickly can you respond to a lead once it comes in. So in our
Mhm,
case, it was how quickly can you connect with that applicant after they've applied, that student after they've applied. And there's a ton of data out there, which to
mhm,
me is interesting why it's very rare. Like 1% of, from my viewpoint, 1% of
mhm,
trade schools, specifically career schools, actually follow up. And then when I say follow up in a meaningful kind of personal way,
mhm,
I've applied to school. I've made it my practice to apply to schools just to see how people do it.
mhm,
Um, and that's when I kind of first discovered, hey, when I applied to a couple schools and they replied immediately back in a personal way,
mhm.
I was like, there's something to this. Let me
Uh-huh.
try this for the dental assisting school. But there's a lot of schools that when you apply, they'll send a lot of my LinkedIn posts talk about generic emails, which is just like, thank you for your application. Someone will
Mhm,
reach out to you soon. And then 3 days pass and someone finally reaches out,
mhm,
and you can tell it's copy paste. I think so. I'm surprised at how of the data out there that shows, hey, if you follow up quickly, and I'm saying quickly as in within 5 minutes or less, the
mhm,
sooner the better. If you can follow up within a minute, that's the ideal, right? But 5 minutes or less, it shows you're 10 times more as likely to to start a conversation with that lead, to move them to the next step in the enrollment
mhm,
process, whatever that next step is. Um, but yet no one does it. And so that is a distinct competitive advantage. And it is and was
mhm,
for our school, for trade schools or career schools. Like you said, for students who are shopping around for the best or for the right fit school. Hey, I know I want to go into dental assisting. And there's only 5 schools in the area that I can go
mhm,
to. I'm going to apply to all of them. If you can capitalize on their interest while they're on your website, have just submitted a form, and start a genuine conversation, you're going to have a big competitive advantage over any other school in the area, because most likely they're not doing that.
mhm.
Anyway, that's a rambling way to say speed to lead is how quickly you can get to the leads. And if you the quicker you can get to the leads, the higher chance you'll have at enrolling that student, connecting with that
Mhm,
student. And you talked about like, hey, there's pressure to perform, in like, hey, there's warm leads in the queue.
mhm,
Like, this is above everything else. If you just do this, if you apply and start a genuine conversation, I mean, or quick with your reply and start a genuine conversation, you will enroll more students. I mean, that was our competitive advantage, and remains so. So yeah, that's my pitch to become really speedy with your leads.
But you know what? It's really loaded because one thing that you spoke about was those generic messages. A lot of times when I'm reaching out to companies and I automatically receive that, in my mind, I'm already turned off because number one, it doesn't feel personal. Number two, I know I was just placed on a list of 1,000, and I know you're not getting back to me anytime soon. So a lot of times I just move on to another company. Period. Because I'm already conditioned to think once I receive that message, I already know what that means. You know, as opposed to receiving an email or a text message, because let's get real, that's what everyone is using nowadays, saying, hey, Kat, I just received your message. I'm actually working with a student right now. I promise I'll get back to you at some point today. It's still telling me that you're not getting back to me right now, but it's still personal because I feel like you're talking directly to me. Right?
Absolutely. Yep.
And here's another thing when it comes to advisors, because we talk about contacting leads within 5 minutes, right? But if we really take a step back, okay, is that really possible in a lot of cases? Because when you just think on the surface, if you have 50 leads, let's say you get to number 2 and you're actually having a conversation, 3 through 50 is not going to get contacted in the next 5 minutes because you're having a conversation with this person. But I think sometimes in an advisor's mind, they're like, you know what, it's already too late. It's past 5 or 10 minutes. I've been on the phone for 20 minutes with this person. So lead 36, they've probably already spoken to another school. But I always say it's the first school to make an impact.
That's
student
good.
could talk to 5 different schools who totally treated them like trash. They weren't interested in nothing. Now they get to you and they're like, oh, this conversation is a little different. This person is asking me about how I actually feel about my goals, you know, so there is a difference.
Yeah. That's I'm going to steal that. It's not just how quickly you can get to the lead, but how quickly you can make an impact on that lead. And that's been 100% my experience. And as a consumer and as an enrollment officer for first class dental assisting, it's yes, how quickly I can respond to that lead, but most of the time it's how quickly can I start, like I keep saying, a genuine conversation with that lead, really understand, hey, what prompted you to reach out today? Why do you aspire to be a dental assistant? Like, what's pushing you to do that? And then staying curious, you know, just getting to know their motivations, their aspirations. And then through that, qualifying and saying, hey, I think our school could be a great fit because of XYZ and based on your aspirations, here's how we could support you. People respond well to that. And as a consumer, I do too. It's like we're finding the best right fit school together, you know?
Exactly.
You're speaking to me, not at me, you know?
There you go. And sometimes when you're having conversations with these schools, because I've shopped a lot of schools and it is so disheartening sometimes. There's some schools that I'm still pissed off at because of the way I was treated on the phone. You know, people telling me, did you look at the website yet? And I'm like, well, yeah, which is why I'm calling you. And they're like, well, if you haven't decided, because, you know, I do a lot of skits on this stuff because this is exactly what I'm experiencing. And it's like, well, if you didn't decide, go back to the website, look around for another 5 minutes, and then call us back when you decide that you know what you want to do with your life. And it's like, I am floored. Did you really just say that to me? You know, it's mind blowing that there's still some advisors who carry on business like this. And a lot of times the leaders, they're not paying attention. You know, they're just wondering, you got 50 leads today and you haven't been able to set an appointment. Do you know why that person hasn't set an appointment? Have you listened to any of these calls? You know, but that's another conversation.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah.
So, Cade, I know that you talk a lot about AI. All right. So, is there a specific tool that you've implemented where you can actually help these schools when it comes to speed to lead?
So yeah, so not to you kind of set me up great there with the, you know, I got 50 leads in the queue and maybe I get to the first 2 within 5 minutes. I was having the same issue where I found out that the quicker I could respond to leads, the more conversations we could start. And the more conversations we could start, then the more people we could, again, move to that next step, which was us to like, hey, let's schedule a tour. Let's get you in. Let's get you to meet the director, get a feel for the facility and where you might be learning. But, you know, as multiple applications were coming in, I would start a conversation with one and then move to two and then hop between a couple. And then all of a sudden I couldn't get down to like you said, 34, 35, 36. And then not only that, you know, any applications that came in before 9 and after 5, I'd consider them a loss, because even though I could try to connect with them the next day, it really, that 5-minute window was key. I could get 1 out of 10 back on the phone if I missed that 5-minute window. But if I could contact someone within that 5-minute window, there was an 80+% chance that I could get in contact with them. Right. So I was like, there's gotta be a way. Is there a way to like, because I was sending out those generic emails after you applied, and that didn't seem to be doing the trick. And I was like, is there a way to artificially begin a genuine conversation with an applicant that comes in? And then kind of pick up that conversation after that initial, that first conversation happened. So that's when I integrated AI into the enrollment process. So an AI that could respond to leads a minute after they applied, and then have that initial conversation with a lead. So, and a lot better of a conversation than I admittedly could. So it could reach those leads that came in before 9, after 5, and lead 5 through 50 on the list if I was having conversations with 1 through 5. So it saved me a lot of time. It gave each applicant kind of that personal experience, and moved them to the next step. So integrated AI engineered the prompt to say, okay, when an applicant comes in, here's how to have a great conversation with them. Here's some things to ask them. Then here's the flow, how the flow of conversation should go. And here's the end goal. And it was pure magic, I would say, because I could maintain that speed to lead with any application that came in, and still do to this day. And I could create a genuine conversation with any applicant, and still do to this day. And so that's how I've integrated AI. Again, it saved me a lot of time, a lot of resources. I was having a conversation with John the other day, and he was like, so you're converting leads in your sleep? And I was like, yeah, because people would apply at midnight and they would have a conversation with this AI, and the AI, and they would schedule a tour and they would take the next step, and then they would come in, and it was amazing for me as an admissions official, and then to see kind of the conversations that we were having with students.
Interesting. So you're saying that this tool is actually contacting leads as they're coming in real time. So even if it's 11 o'clock at night, this tool is actually paying attention to all the students who are applying at that time, and they're having that conversation with them.
It's an admissions rep that never sleeps, basically. Wow. And it could have 50 conversations at once, right? So, it was, as soon as a lead came in, it would contact that lead a minute after it came in, or that applicant a minute after it came in. And it would follow a conversational flow. And it would respond to the lead would respond, it would respond back, it would remember what was said. And its goal was to get to know the lead, qualify that lead, and move it to the next step, which was us a tour, and schedule a tour with the lead. And it's doing that, and it's doing that really well.
Interesting. So advisors are coming in the next morning sometimes with tours already set and booked, and all they have to do is confirm them. Or is AI doing that too?
All I have to do is confirm them. I would love that's the next iteration, Kathy. Thank you. It's to actually put it on a calendar and say, hey, there's a tour today at 5 that was scheduled. But yes, I would just show up, say, all right, that person's coming tomorrow at 5 p.m. And I would let the director know, and he's like, all right, I'll be ready,
Well, here's one thought.
Yeah.
I would love the confirmation as far as going out to the lead that's scheduled for the campus tour, right? I still think when it comes to that personal touch, that the advisor should still make the attempt to confirm that tour. One, because if the student has additional questions, like if they have to bring in their high school diploma, a lot of times when a student can't find the high school diploma, they're automatically assuming, well, I can't go into the appointment because I have no idea what this document is. The advisor will have the opportunity to say, it's okay, still come and we can help you through that process. Also, it's another opportunity for a referral. I always tell advisors there's always an opportunity for a referral. Who are you bringing with you to your appointment who can act as a support? Instead of saying, do you have a friend who's interested in the program also? Because it turns people off, right?
Yeah.
But through that personal touch to kind of solidify that appointment. Financial aid, can't wait to meet you today at 2:00 either. So I think it work both ways.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. And yeah, I mean, that's I guess to the discretion of whatever facility that you're at, right? You could take that lead if they've scheduled it, and then boom, you just jump in right where the conversation is, and say, hey, excited to meet you this afternoon. Fill in the blank information that you need to fill in, or here's what you need to know. And we've created automations for that too of, hey, just confirming once we enter them into the calendar, that starts kind of the next sequence. And that's when I jump in and make sure everything's squared away. But yeah, that's a great point. It's like, the cool thing about this tool is it covers that. If speed to lead is that competitive advantage, which we've found it is, it makes sure that you at least start that conversation, at least have the ability for the speed to lead to be employed for any applicant that comes in. And not only that, but carry that conversation to that next step, at least to the point where you could jump in and carry it from there.
Exactly. I mean, either way, I love it because the bottom line is marketing is spending a lot of money generating these leads, and a lot of them are just being wasted because people are impatient. Let's get real. And the attention span is only 8 seconds. I think it's less now.
It's less now. Yes. Yeah. That's why I'm on 5 minutes or less. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Let's talk about email marketing because you had touched on it earlier as far as receiving those generic email messages or text messages. All right. What do you think that some schools are missing when it comes to email marketing and their messaging?
Yeah, well, I will say there's smarter people out there that specialize in email marketing that could speak really well to this. But I think from a macro level, it goes back to that generic feel. Like that personal touch doesn't stop after the first conversation. I've found that with each email, the more you can add in that personal element. And for example, something as simple as I like before orientation, I always send something that's just like less information focused and more just like, hey, what questions do you have? Like, I'm not gonna like send you a 2-page email that you're not gonna read, that also doesn't have the information that you're actually looking for. Like, hey, what questions do you have? Is there any like concerns that you're having leading up to this? That kind of personal touch, or I'm even holding kind of an information session that was kind of choose your own adventure by the people that are about to enroll for our April term. So I've been accepted and either have moved to the next step or coming or still not quite sure, but it's kind of like, hey, what do you want me to cover in that? Like I'll cover kind of the basics, but like, is there any particular thing that you want me to cover? And usually those things start to become, you see patterns and stuff, but sometimes somebody will have a very unique thing that they want kind of answered. And if you can't answer it in that session, then I'll follow up with that person. So I think that personal, and that goes a long way. I think that personal touch throughout that enrollment experience is nice from a consumer perspective. And ultimately, like, it just gets that hook in there deeper, where it's just like, hey, we genuinely care about you. We genuinely think that our school is the right fit for you. So we want you to come. And this is a way to make sure that you know that, and that you feel seen and heard, and that therefore you're more likely to come,
Yeah. I love what you're doing, because the problem is a lot of our students, first of all, higher education does not like to look at students as consumers. I don't understand why. They are purchasing a service.
Right. Yeah.
But the problem is a lot of times when students are checking emails, they're automatically assuming that 1,000 other people got the same exact email, and all they did was insert my name. Right. So if you're asking someone, all right, so what do you expect during orientation? Or give me an idea of something that we can implement in orientation. Even though 100 other students received that email, it's still personal in a way, because it's like, oh my gosh, wonder if my idea is actually implemented during orientation.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of the way that things are worded too. Cade, I've seen some emails go out where the very first interaction with the student is going through the entire program.
Yeah.
The email, the cost of the program, the schedules. And in my mind, I'm just like, it's the same thing that I tell advisors when they're having a conversation. Why are you giving all of this information? What is making this student want to take 3 trains and 2 buses to come see you if everything is right here? It's the same thing when they receive an email. They're like, okay, I have all the information I need, on to the next school. And they never even talk to the advisor.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what are some things that you think you would eliminate, or some things that actually should be in that first email?
That's you've brought up something that I want to kind of touch on too. But yeah, that's a great point. I didn't think about, kind of like leaving a little taste for the student. Like it's almost, I mean, it's informational, but I don't say you're teasing them, but you're like wanting to leave that taste in their mouth so that they, want to come to find out more. It's like the cliffhanger at the end of a chapter to keep reading, incorporating that within emails is an interesting idea. But to me, I always like to say, like, you're not trying to get them to walk in the door after the first step. You're just trying to close them to the next step is what I try to do. And those like small incremental, which seem like, oh yeah, I can do that, steps, that get them excited to take the next step, eventually lead to them walking through the front door. And so for the first email that we send, as soon as they apply, it is that personal email. It's just we want to get to know you. That's the first email. Why our school? Why this profession is basically what we ask them. We let them have a chance to respond. And after that, it's, all right, we're going to close. That's the first step. Let's close them on the next step. It's, hey, you're not going to make this big decision without coming in and seeing and meeting some of the staff and coming in and getting a feel to where you might be learning. Like the next step is come in and take a tour. And then that's it. Just come in, take a tour. And if you're excited after you leave that tour, we'll take the next step together, which is locking down your spot by submitting the form. Okay. So yeah, like don't put everything within one email and expect the student to walk in the door in the first email. Like you said, it's all you're trying to do is to get them to take small steps forward until they're into the door. Is how I do it and how I look at it.
You know what? I really love that, because you brought up a concept that I don't think a lot of people have ever, considered. Closing at every step. A lot of times when advisors think of the close, they only thinking about the enrollment, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, after the first initial conversation, I just closed you. on taking the next step, which is a campus tour. That's it. All right. We're just going to talk about the programs of interest, the best fit for you. And then once you close on that part, now the next step is, hey, let's start an application. And the reason why I love that is because in the student's mind, especially we're talking about the Gen Zs here, they're very smart. Okay. They do all the research and they probably know more than some of the advisors. But in their mind, they're automatically assuming that the minute I get on the phone with an advisor, your objective is to get me into school to enroll me. And I'm not sure if I want to start right now. So there's this wall that automatically goes up, and this is why there's so much friction between the student and the advisor. I think if they could phrase it the way that you're phrasing it, all right. So the very first step is this conversation. I just want to know who you are and why you called and why at this point in your life you want to do something different. Let's just talk about that. Then you get them intrigued enough to the point where it's like, you know what? I think the next great step for you would be to come see the facility. I know you want to see the students and get to see the labs. Do we agree? Now they're not thinking about anything past that.
Yeah.
Focusing on the tour. I think a lot of schools will get more students in that way also.
Yeah. And it reduces a lot of friction, right? It makes the process seem more seamless and easy and less like laborious and like there's this mountain, like you said, it's like, all right. And it's like, we talk about consumers and like students coming in and like admissions closely related to sales, and it's like when I'm interacting with a salesperson, it's like, if they're trying to like close the deal with me the first time I show up, I'm just trying to get to know like the product. I'm just trying to get to know the service. Like like, let's just see if we're a good fit. Stop trying to like make me sign the contract, like that's, at least that's in my mind how it goes. And it's like the best ones are just like framing it like, hey, I want to make sure this is a right fit for both of us. And there's some steps that we need to go through to make sure that it is. The first step, let me just get to know you. And at the end of the conversation, if it's not a right fit, or if anytime you're like, you know what, I just don't think this is, and I've had that before. It's like, you know what, I think this other school is the right fit, or for this reason, I'm not looking for, okay. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to force you to like say, oh, no, wait, sign this contract, come into our school. It's like, yeah, that's the first step. It's just like, hey, let's just take it piece by piece, step by step, and close to the next step. And then what you get is more eager, more right fit, more, just students who are ready to enroll and not kind of like tricked into, I guess, the bait and switch.
There goes that bait and switch. I think it creates urgency from the student side instead of the advisor side, right? Because everyone is assuming that the advisor is like, I need you to come. But when you phrase things like, if you're a good fit, if we decide that we're a good fit for each other, automatically now the student is like, wait a minute. Wait, so they don't need me? Oh, no, I want to be here. And now the students tell themselves. It's kind of like you took it away before the process even started. If I think you're a good fit and we're a good fit for you, then we can take the next step. Now they're like, oh, so you're not trying to enroll me? No, because I don't even know if our school is a good fit for you. So I just want to get to know you. Now the guard comes down.
Right.
Love it. Cade, where do you see the future of career education?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. Hopefully with more AI integration. No, I don't know. I think we've touched on it through this conversation. I think Gen Z, like you said, is really smart. I think they do a lot of research on their own, and we joke a lot like, oh, attention spans are going down, but I think they want that kind of individualized personal experience. And the challenge is, how do you deliver that at scale, especially if you have a lot of applications? Your customers, I mean, they're not making an impulse buy. This is a life changing decision, and they want to make sure they're making the right one. And so they expect and they want like that personal experience. And so the challenge is, how do you as an institution do that at scale? And I think whoever can figure that out, like that's the ticket. That's the future. It's only going to be continue. The students are only going to want that more and more as the younger generations, I think, grow older. And so that's a way to say I don't know what the future is. I just know the future has to be personal and has to be quick.
Yeah.
And so whatever that means is whatever that means, I guess.
Yeah. I had a post the other day where I forgot which company it was, but they were doing research on the Gen Zs, and they said that they are communaholics. Which is interesting. So those old days of just going through a series of questions on a script, dismissing the responses and just trying to get to the end so that you can say, I actually went through my entire script, is over. Gen Zs, they want to communicate. They're talkers,
Yeah.
First of all, they're born into this phase, right? Information, technology. So they do a lot of research, but they want to talk about that research because they want to make sure that you have your facts straight also, because they already know. So it's like they're looking for confirmation. So that communication piece is going to be very important. So I have one final question for you, Cade.
Yeah.
This thing. If there was a career path is there a career path that you dreamed of as a child? I know that you wanted to get into English lit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But did you ever envision yourself going down a totally different career path? If so, how come? How come you didn't?
No, I think I thought for sure I was going to create stories and write novels and teach. That I thought for sure. So I guess that I realized that your last question, where it was, if I could go back, I would have devoted myself even harder into marketing. But there's always the hindsight's 2020, and there's a silver lining with that, because I don't think I would have had the same experience as a marketer if I didn't have that English creative background.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if I'd go back and change anything. But I'm glad I didn't stay on that initial path. I'm glad I'm continuing down this kind of marketing road and experience. I think I wouldn't have gone to graduate school maybe if that's the different career path. I wouldn't have fought so hard to realize the dream of writing novels and teaching. I would have just stayed on this professional kind of marketing journey. And I think what this is, because I still get to flex that creative muscle. And what this path has given me that academia didn't was, this right here, like conversations, collaboration, quick feedback on your stuff. You're not isolated alone writing a novel stuck in theory. You're thinking of theory and you're putting it into practice, and you're collaborating with people who are equally as energized and entrepreneurial and ready to get out there, and you're interacting with students all day. And that just is a life-giving kind of energy that I love to be a part of. So I don't know if your question is if I could go back and do a different career path, but if I could go back and do a different career path, I wouldn't have maybe gone with the English grad route, and I would have continued down the marketing route, I guess.
Well, you know what, Kate? I think that you are right where you're supposed to be, because really, truly, I think you are still pursuing that career path, just not in the book form, right? Because you're marketing, and when you're writing, you're getting people to envision, okay, where can my life be if in fact I go down this road? So it's the same thing. I would say that you're still pursuing it, right? Just in a more creative way, where it really starts to bring out that person inside, right? And that change thousands of lives. Just saying.
Yeah. That's a great point. Like I'm realizing it in a different form. And I'm realizing too that a lot of people don't end up where kind of they started. It's kind of like you should just like not wipe away that first degree, but like I don't know anyone that's like doing what they originally set out to do. I don't know if you are, Kathy, but like
nope.
It's kind of like I didn't expect to go this route, but I'm happy that it went down this path.
Absolutely. Look, I thought I was going to be one of the biggest hair salons in New York City because I've always
There you
been into
go.
beauty. My family is into beauty and fashion. My dad is a tailor. So I swore, and I do hair, right? So I have that creative side. So I swore that I was going to open up a beauty salon and I was going to franchise it. I was going to have thousands of locations. And I'm in higher ed for almost 18 years, you know? So no, a lot of people start off, thinking that they're about to go down one path and really and truly God has something else planned for them. Right. And you realize that that second option is exactly in line with who you were created to be in the first place. And
Right.
now you're fulfilling your purpose. So I love it. Well, Kate, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I think it was an amazing conversation. I think for those people who are actually listening, they're walking away with some great tips that's going to help them grow their schools. Do you have any final thoughts for our audience before we go?
No, I thank you for having me on. I hope it's been helpful for your
Absolutely.
listeners. Shameless plug, if you're interested in some kind of AI integration, reach out to me. I'd love to help you do speed to lead and do it well, and start genuine conversations at scale with your students. So if that's of interest to you, if you have that pressure to perform, let technology help you do that. I think it's some really exciting developments happening in the AI space, and this is one way I think it could help us save time and energy, but also help us do our jobs. So
Absolutely. And how would they get in contact with you, Scott?
yeah, so enrollboostai.com is the easiest way to get in contact with me, or connect with me on LinkedIn. Type in Cade Scott, Enroll Boost AI, and I'm sure you'll find my profile. But that's, again, enrollboostai.com is the easiest way to schedule some time to talk, and we'll take the next step together. Maybe you will even encounter an AI bot if you schedule a time, so you can try to break it.
Absolutely. Love it. Well, once again, thank you for joining us, Cade, and thank you guys for listening. Until next time, bye. I really hope that you enjoyed that episode. I have been working diligently to bring awareness to career schools. There's so much that they have to offer our students and our community. Every single role within the admissions process is critical, whether you're a part of the admissions team, financial aid, career services, academics, everyone deserves a voice. Admissions is the first point of contact for your school, so you want to ensure that you have a team who exudes confidence, passion, and a clear understanding of effective communication with our potential students. I totally understand the pain of missed class starts, low appointment and enrollment conversions, and this is why I created Next Level Admissions Training by Motivate with K.A.T. This platform is a step-by-step process, and it is going to train your new and tenured advisors in every single step of the enrollment process to ensure that our students are inspired and they're ready and prepared to start class. Admissions is not easy. It can be very challenging, but it's definitely worth it. So if you're ready to take your school to the next level, head on over to lessons.motivatewithkat.com and check out Next Level Admissions.